right. Welcome, everybody. It's 7 o'clock Wednesday night. Sci-Fi Distilled. Welcome back, Mary Beth, and welcome, Kent and Fez. How are you guys? I haven't seen you in a while.
Hi, Bill Sotak. Hi, Martin.
So tonight, we're going to skip news because we got a
Yes,
really big shoe.
A big shoe.
Really big shoe. We're going to talk about Picard, seasons 1, 2, 3. So, but we do have a drink, so I'm going to jump right into drinkage.
And did the drink come from your new book, Rizzo?
Yep, we'll get there. It did not, actually.
Oh, come on. I thought it was.
Well, I don't, copyright and all that. Anyway, I'll explain the book in a minute. So this is the drink. It's the Titan. The first thing on there is mezcal. So it's a good one for this because you need a lot. I think you need to be drunk, especially to get through season 1, but we'll talk about that.
Yep.
Lime juice, orange juice, passion fruit syrup, ogret, and another one that I'm not going to pursue, which is just another version of ogret and Agostina bitters. If you want there, it's on the website, and you can make that. But anyway, yes, Mary Beth has a shirt. We have kind of become Todd Stashwick fans. This is one. He's a co-writer. Stashwick wrote this. It's called Mystic Libations, and it is perfect for this show because it's a cocktail book, folks. He even signed it for me, which is nice. Yeah, you can get this at Nerd Circus, I think it's called. I got the card right here. Let me read it. I think it's called Nerd Circus. The Nerd Circus.
Yes, it is the Nerd Circus.
And so you can order the book directly from them. It's got a very Dungeons and Dragons theme, which he's very into Dungeons and Dragons. And he co-wrote it with Brandon Cleela, I guess. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name.
I think, Kent, you're right. I think he is one of us.
Yeah, I think he's very nerdy.
One of us.
One of us. I get the vibe like if he came to the set tour, he'd fit right in.
So, okay. So that's all we had to start. We're going to start out with season 1 of Picard. So this is where it might get pretty ugly. We're going to start ugliness right from the get-go. So we'll go around the horn. I'm going to start with Mary Beth. Your thoughts on season 1? Go.
Legolas. We got Legolas. We got the Irish Romulan spy that we didn't know we needed, and I loved her in season 1, and then they did her dirty in season 3, Laris. We got absolute candor, which I'm going to use throughout the show tonight. And what else did we get? Oh, we got Raffi.
We got Raffi.
Right.
We got Raffi.
Well, I mean...
And Rios. And La Serena.
Yep, we got some new characters, but that was the least of our problems.
What's Legolas's real name?
Elnor.
Elnor, thank you. Was Elnor on the whichever? Was he on the Excalibur? One of the ships blew up in season 3, and I thought Elnor was on it. Did he die?
I thought he died in season 2, didn't he?
He did, but then they brought him back at the end of season 2. That was with the snap.
The snappy thing.
Oh, the snap, yes.
You can fix everything with a Q.
You can fix everything.
Yeah.
So
that's kind
of hope for Shaw. But anyway,
the secret Romulan organization.
Oh, Ken froze.
He froze again.
You're freezing up there, buddy.
It's because I was talking about the secret Romulan organization.
Yeah, that's right. You were being
recursive.
Redacted.
Yeah.
So there's a secret Romulan organization buried within the other.
Well, all right, let's back up a step because there's a lot of things wrong with season 1 in the fact that
like Legolas and the Kumquat Malak.
Well, let's start out. Okay, so Romulus had exploded or got sucked into the black hole or whatever, right? That was the whole thing.
Theoretically, but that was
JJ Trek.
Yeah, but that's what. But when you remember, that's why there's all these Romulan refugees out and about.
Sorry.
You guys remember the whole point was the Federation turned their backs on these people.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't bring them in as Federation would.
See, I thought
they turned their backs, and we also now have a slave race based on Data's.
Oh God! How did I forget? Yes,
the whole thing was right. That was the whole thing.
And rehabilitated
right out the door.
And rehabilitated, segregated port.
So you have all these things that are just, it's very dark. It's so not Star Trek, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was
it wasn't. But what drove me crazy was these just blatant things that they took of the Federation, and Federation became this very self-centered.
Threw them under the bus.
No, we're not going to help them. That is, come on. In any of the iterations of Star Trek up to now, even if an enemy, because we saw this so many times, an enemy needed help, they would help them.
Yep.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Star
saying?
Trek.
I mean, that was like a core thing.
Over and over
So
and
they
over.
turned their back on the Romulans when they really needed them most against Picard. Now, Picard apparently was a proponent for helping them, but was struck down. And then there's the whole thing with the android population that was basically a slave race.
Well, not
And-
only that, but the downtrodden and segregated and universally discriminated against Borg remainders. There was a whole ship full of them.
Right. That's
It
what
was-
Romulans were supposedly partly controlling that, though, right? Wasn't there something that they were kind of?
There was like a subplot.
Yeah.
Was
So,
Rizzo, remember that
this whole
Rizzo?
thing, it's just the whole first season was a mess, and it just wasn't
It was
Star
all
Trek.
over the place.
And what drove me crazy was you watched as we watched TNG growing up, if you will. I was an adult, but you know what I'm saying, in its initial airings, and you get to know this Captain Picard, who's a very strong figure, and we all loved him because he was always doing the right thing, and he saved the universe multiple times. And then you get him, and he's very frail looking, and then he goes to Starfleet for help, and they basically give him an F-bomb, say, F you, you're out, we don't want to have anything to do with you. I just felt like I don't know what Kurtzman was thinking with this writing of this show. Like, who are you writing this for? Because me as a fan don't want to see these people crapped on.
We wanted our Picard to go.
I want to see them be the heroes that they were.
But
Remind me, what?
It's all anti-heroes. All the heroes have feet of clay, and you have to expose their darker side or ignore them and make them irrelevant, because people don't do heroes anymore.
Well,
But that's not Star Trek.
what
I
did
get that,
he
but
and Raffi get court-martialed for? Remind me?
Initially, I don't remember what her initial. Maybe the guys at the people watching remember. I don't remember why she was kind of. No, because she had a drug problem. I think was part of it.
No,
which again bothered me that in the 23rd century we're still dealing with drug addiction. That we
and there was an awful lot of smoking in the whole season. I mean, between what's his name, the
Rios.
captain of Rios and her. I mean, it was like, what did suddenly make a giant comeback? I don't.
Yeah. Now, bright spots of season 1 was Rios and his holograms.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, those I liked.
Yeah. But no, when Raffi served under Picard, he did something that got him court-martialed and her kicked out. What was it?
It wasn't that he got kicked out. He resigned because they wouldn't help the.
It was all over the Romulan thing. He resigned. Right,
okay.
Fez is right. He resigned because they wouldn't help, and he just said, "This isn't Starfleet that I know, Federation that I know. I'm done." And I don't know what I think her thing was the drug addiction.
I think it was the drug addiction and going down the rabbit hole of the secret Romulan society within the secret Romulan society.
The Kumquat Milot.
The Kumquat or the.
And I don't know. And even in the 23rd century, they would let you live at Vasquez Rock.
Zotvash.
Nah.
Fish. I don't know what it was.
You can't just drop your little hut right outside.
Yeah, just in the middle of Vasquez. Yeah, I could have sworn she was mad at him for getting her.
Her character. Okay, in season 1, again, they had the whole scene with her going to see her son.
Yeah, and the son. Yeah.
And it was at that time within that season, that whole thing was irrelevant because it went nowhere. It was, yes, I know people are gonna say it's character building, but it didn't add anything.
They didn't earn that. They to that point we had no reason to care for her. We weren't. They made her unlikable. They made her abrasive, and we don't like her. We're not invested in her. What do we care if she's estranged from her family?
Right.
No shit, she's estranged from her family. Look at how she behaves.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like the character at all. And never mind season 2, but
well, we'll get there.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
We're only 10 minutes into this thing.
They spent a lot of time laying down. I believe they spent a lot of time laying all this stuff down. They laid down Elnor and his background and his connection to Picard.
Right.
They laid down, and then it just poof.
And they can't afford
they had this character who was Lieutenant Rizzo, and they didn't do anything with it, and they should have.
And the season is too short at 10 episodes to waste a whole episode doing somebody's backstory. You can't.
Yeah.
You can in 22 seasons.
There was a lot of it was just bad. The highlight of the season was seeing Riker and Deanna
Yep.
Making
Nepenthe, yep.
that was a highlight for
It was.
sure.
Pizzas.
It was for all of us. Everyone squealed.
You know, the other thing that really drove me crazy was Girardi kills
Girardi killed
Maddox, right?
lover.
Maddox was last
Yeah,
name.
Maddox.
Maddox.
Yeah.
Maddox. And never pays that price for that. Never, and it's not even really acknowledged. They kind of acknowledged it in season 2 because I think a lot of people are going, "What the hell? She just murdered a guy," and they didn't like.
Yeah,
and they're saying, "Well, she was under the excuse that they gave in season 2 that she was under the influence of this whatever power that was. Remember, it was like this AI power that was living or somehow was controlling her." I didn't buy that. I felt that she was kind of acting on her own, and even if she was, you just wouldn't give her a pass. I don't know. There was she was a hugely annoying character. Another one.
Star Trek does this though. They tend to give characters passes, and they tend to fast track. Like, did you notice when we get to season 3, they fast tracked Jack to be an officer. They tend to do that. Tend to reward.
I understand that, and we could talk about that when we get to season 3 more because I got some. Not that I know what you're saying, but in this instance,
Professor Girardi, they tend to do that. They tend to gloss over these kinds of things if they have a higher purpose for it.
I was really shocked though when I saw that the first time that she murdered him.
Yeah, she killed
him.
It
really actually shocked me. I'm like, wow, they're gonna really make it that she killed him, and there's like no and then there was by the end there was no consequences whatsoever. It's barely even mentioned. And I'm like, she murdered a guy.
There was Soji running around. I did not love
and
Soji.
Why do the thing with the twin sisters? Why not just have it be her? Why does she have to die on the steps from the Romulan
drama?
But it isn't drama. There's another one. So what? We didn't lose anything.
I know. I've been picked on it, but I really think there's a lot of lazy writing going on, and I think what it is they're like, I don't know, maybe they're told this, like, we need to end up here, and you guys got to figure out how to get from here to here. Don't worry about any established anything. Just make it work.
I think for the series as a whole, until we get to season 3, is hampered by the fact that Patrick Stewart is an executive producer and has more say.
And so is Brent.
And so a lot of that lazy writing, I think, is more service to
executive meddling.
Exactly.
Possibly.
It could be. I know Patrick Stewart wanted.
Yeah, that guy.
He wanted, when he agreed to do this, he wanted it to be something very different from what TNG was. I know he had said that he wanted, but I mean, you could have done different without completely taking Gene's original vision of Star Trek, the Federation, Starfleet, and just throw it in the trash and start over. Look at this. This show wouldn't have been that bad if it didn't have the word Star Trek in front of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If it was just some sci-fi show that
whole thing fits in well with like Babylon 5.
Yeah, or something like that. Something a much more darker franchise, you would have been okay with a lot of the stuff. But with Star Trek, it didn't make any sense.
Fez has a point though. We won't know to what extent Patrick really influenced the storytelling, but were you there, Rizzo? You were there, but you weren't in the room, were you? We were there in Vegas when they announced him coming back.
Right. He walked on stage.
He walked on stage.
We were all excited. We were all excited to see him come back and have a show and
fumbling all over themselves for this guy.
Especially Discovery was only at that time in what? They hadn't only done like season 1.
They'd only done a couple, They'd
only done season 1 by that. 1 or 2 maybe at the most.
I think they were filming 2.
Yeah. So we hadn't found out what a shit show, excuse my French, Discovery would become.
Exactly. Because season 1, season 2 was pretty good. I actually like season 2. But Patrick was like, I wouldn't have done this if the story wasn't so compelling and if it wasn't the natural conclusion for where Picard would end up. And so I had such high hopes.
But it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't get it compelling.
You're never going to convince me that when they did season 1, that what happened in season 3 was on their minds. Like that was going to be their conclusion.
Oh, no.
Well, bullshit. That was not where they go. They went there because they realized the fans are not happy and the ratings are showing it. They're not, and that we're getting beat up left and right. And I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that's why, we're getting Discovery's getting canceled after 5 seasons. So,
well, the other thing with the whole when we get to season 3, Patrick Stewart took the whole Next Gen cast and told them, I'm doing a Star Trek show and you're not going to be a part of it. This is not TNG
But
season 8.
Brent was.
But Brent was.
But they kind of remember they killed him off in like the second episode
Dinosaur.
with their horrible makeup. Now that's another reason I'm like, you're telling me they couldn't do DH him like they did, come on, we had Luke Skywalker kicking ass. You couldn't do that with Brent.
If they were gonna bother DH,
And you know what I'm saying? It looked terrible. It looked awful. His makeup was awful.
Yeah.
It was like he looked like a bloated.
Yeah.
It was clearly an older man who had gained weight, understandably.
He's not.
But that now they tried to explain it in season 3 that he purposely looks this way so that he's fitting in. And okay, fine.
Well, and they did it with Q too. They went to that well more than once.
Yeah,
Q goes,
right.
Well,
Q, again, they could have done it. I think with the technology and the money they put into the show, if Disney can do it, Paramount can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my only thing. So all right, we are gonna wrap up season 1.
Let's please.
The worst part of season 1, I think most people agree, is that Picard becomes an android, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
That really bothered a lot of people. Didn't bother me as much as all the other things that were wrong with the show. But it did. I think that was probably the number one peeve. A lot of fans were just like, so he's an android?
Which is
He's
effectively
a
immortal.
beloved character.
Well, yes, but they mentioned that they still gave him the same flair.
It's the same lifespan.
Frailties and lifespan of his
Yes.
Well, what the hell's the point?
Right. Why? I don't.
Again.
Luckily, we have season 2.
And if you're going to make an android with me and they're going to transfer, just for the record, if this comes up, just so you guys know, if it comes up that I have to put in an android body, put me in an android body when I was like 25.
Yeah. Yes, DH my body.
Okay.
DH, I'd like to lose 20 pounds.
Yeah, just why bother? Might as well go. In fact, just put me in like, somebody else better looking than me. Start right, why even bother? Anyway, all right.
There's so many million people to choose from, Riz.
Right. I know.
You could be David Hasselhoff.
Okay. Are we going to move on to 2? Are we done?
Yeah. 2 is, I think, better than 1.
Okay.
Okay. Wait. One last point though. They kind of dropped the Borg storyline part of season 1, that there was a collective that was escaped from the collective. So there's a whole group of Borg out there who aren't part of the collective. Remember that for season 3. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Right. So season 2, better, not good.
Yes,
but better.
Better.
I think when I saw the trailer for season 2, and there was the clip where Raffi and 7 of 9 get in a police car in LA in the 2000s and are having a car chase in an LA police car, I almost threw something at the television because oh my God, we're doing a time travel episode or season, which case, doesn't that save us a lot of money?
Yep.
We can shoot on site and we don't have to build sets.
Yeah.
That's all that screams to me when sci-fi does that, and they're always in the current time that we live in.
They couldn't be bothered.
Okay, that's just a cheap cop out. Yeah. The storyline again. Here we go. We brought the Borg back in, and the Borg are like the Nazis of Star Trek. It's always the bad guy you go to.
Okay.
Seems like we never can be original. And then Girardi is a key figure, which just
Girardi becomes more of a key figure after not being punished last year.
And they adopted Rios into Starfleet.
And they adopted
readopted
him.
Right. And those were some of the highlights when we saw the Stargazer. And I think it partly, again, what happened in season 3. I think even by this point, season 3 wasn't on the radar yet with them as far as what they were going to do. Right. But again, people. When we saw the buzz online was the Stargazer.
The Stargazer.
Yeah.
And even Doug's like, yeah, that's pretty much all you see of it was those 2 little, bits of it. And that's it. It wasn't like you're going to see the Stargazer the whole season, and they get it. People want Star Trek to be on Starfleet ships doing Starfleet stuff.
Great stuff.
And what about the cop out at the end of season 1 when Riker shows up in the Titan? And then 100 more Titans show up.
Yeah. Every single night.
We only had one CGI.
That was just being cheap, is what that was. And
that was exactly what
that was. Strictly a cost thing. And because we all know that every time, even in TNG, when we saw like the Battle of Wolf 359, it was a million different kinds of ships, even though the
Right.
Millennium Falcon was in there. So, they had a whole bunch of the Starfleet has always had multiple different designs. They're not just cookie cutter. So yeah, that was just lame.
So season 2, we're gonna wrap up the Soji timeline, and I'm okay that she went with Will Wheaton. That's fine with me.
But that wasn't Soji.
That was
some other
Soong ancestor who
Yeah,
looks
that's right. That was
exactly
the other
like-
one. Yeah, that's right. So we wrapped up Soji with Data last season. Okay, so now we've got that going on. We got 7 of 9 out of the. She's still a Fenris Ranger, though, isn't she? She is.
She
still a
was.
she's
She
still a
was
Fenris
at the beginning of the season. At the end
and
of
then
the
we
season,
send her
she
over to
becomes-
be Borg nanny, sorta.
Right.
Raffi's getting better. I'm liking Raffi better. We need to get rid of Rios because I think maybe you guys don't think they were moving toward that, but I think that maybe they were like, I'm not sure.
Rios was dead end. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
Rios
do you
was
go-
I think it was again he was fast tracked to being captain of the Stargazer,
I did like him,
and
But
and
it's
I didn't really have a problem with his character. I
Yeah,
liked
neither did
him.
I, and yet I don't crave him. Like I
I
want to
didn't-
see
I
more
didn't really
Shaw.
see it
I
necessary.
liked Shaw. I want to see more Shaw. Rios I liked, but
Yeah, he was just okay.
fun. Yeah.
But again, I didn't think it was necessary to leave him in the or he wanted to, obviously, but because we always how many times they talk about paradoxes and messing with the timeline.
Oh yeah, the temporal.
Oh, yeah,
piece,
by the
all
way, he's
over
just
that.
stay here
We're
and
just
know
going to go
everything
ahead and leave him in the pet. Yeah.
And I don't care who you
Know that.
are, you're not going to keep your mouth shut if you know there are 2 major wars coming.
Yeah, good point.
No, or at least you'd move your family with the hell away.
Good point. Did we not just discuss that in Final Countdown?
I mean,
And then the other moving of the chess pieces we do is this huge Gerardi Borg storyline, which is bizarre for Star Trek. Like the way and they're singing. The 2 of them are on stage singing. Like it was weird to me.
It was ick.
weird. And
Why
untruthful.
on Earth? I don't care what the stakes are. Why would you
Why was Amy
put
working?
something like the Borg and connect it to your ship? The whole point of every encounter with the Borg was to keep them from connecting to your ship.
well, then that was the thing. And on the second season, there was that whole thing where Picard's having these like weird flashback things in his basement.
Right.
Oh yeah,
That
with
whole
his mother.
weird storyline with his mother.
With his mother, who
That
we've
was
already
that was
met.
totally
We met her
unnecessary.
in
It's like,
TNG.
where are we going with this? It's
And are
like,
they trying to
it's
suggest
not
that
necessary.
the most powerful, the most professional captain had these deep psychological?
I know it just
It's
didn't fit.
There are no
jive.
cameras.
It just didn't jive
Yeah,
at
it didn't
all.
fit at all. It didn't
Someone
fit at all.
who
Again, I
went
think it's
through seeing his mother hang himself doesn't. I don't know.
it was very dark and it wasn't necessary, and it's not who we want. Again, it's not who
that
we
was
want these
happening.
characters to
Johnny's
be.
singing on stage. Rios is running around. Raffi and Seven are driving around Los Angeles. Like it just
And they're
the
a
whole thing. And they're a couple.
Which is fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And
But
the
it
whole
was a
thing is
strange.
And Space Legolas was not a
and what
part
was
of it.
Nicholas doing? And he was gone.
He was
Right.
dead.
He was
Killed.
dead. I kind of liked Legolas. He was.
I love out of all the new characters,
You like Legolas?
I like Space Legolas.
Who doesn't enjoy a good kumquat a lot? We all do.
Absolute candor, girl.
Absolute candor.
The other thing that Star Trek,
Pronounced
modern
candor.
Star Trek, has been doing every season, I've noticed it's a universe-ending disaster that has to be.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Season 1, we had the invasion of the AI, whatever the hell they were. They were going to come wipe out all living.
Now, is that the same AI that Discovery took with them into the future?
Who the frig knows?
'Cause
Probably not. Could be. You
that
never
means
know.
Section 31
Um,
had a hand in it.
You could probably work that in. I'm sure there's some creative writer would just jump over all kinds of canon and make that happen. But then, like in season 2, now we have this giant black hole thing, whatever it is. It's going to suck the entire universe.
And in the middle of all of this, there's Q, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, there's Q. He can just fix it."
Right.
Yeah. No. I'm dying. Hang on. No, I'm dead. I'm dying. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, just kidding.
I need to have deep
Spoiler.
scenes where people
And
cry.
again, and the other thing that drives me nuts is they keep going back to the Noonien Sung
Yes.
Data.
Does
Please.
everybody in
Yeah,
his
God, with
ancestral tree look like him?
Family.
Everybody in
Yes.
his family looks like him. Apparently.
Also, it has forever pissed me off that they said Noonien Sung and then Noonien Khan. That has irritated the F out of me. Please, Star Trek, stop that.
Just stop
Don't
with
use
the
that
whole
name.
connection
Is it
to
Smith?
that
Is it
episode.
the Smith of the
Please,
future?
just
I
stop.
don't want
Because
it.
again, exactly. They keep going to that well. And I don't know if they think that's what fans want. Like we constantly want to see things related to. But I am so sick of Dr.
The world
Spoon.
when they retcon the Gorn. No.
Well,
Stop.
we'll save.
That's a discussion for another
That's
time.
a discussion for don't even get me started on
Trying
that.
to do, you don't need to fill in every single backstory. Leave some mystery.
Well, they did that in
Yes,
Star
wonder.
Wars too, explaining
Yeah,
how
you know what?
Solo, when Solo got the Millennium Falcon, and how he's such a good pilot, and
How he got the dice hanging off. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what, we do not need a story, an explanation for every single little detail.
I was okay with Solo, but anyway, that was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. The problem is that they keep going. It seems like every iteration of Star Trek now has some version of Dr. Soong in it. I don't think Discovery did. I think there's the first one. Did they? Did we finally not have an episode that didn't have Dr. Soong in it?
One of the bridge ladies is
No,
related.
Strange New World.
No, that's on Strange New World.
But that's Discovery.
That's
That's why I'm
Discovery.
saying she's a Noonien Khan, not a Noonien Singh.
Right,
Soong.
but
Song.
Soong,
still
Dr.
relative.
Soong. But see, that's the thing. I thought they were all like related. That's why he got his name from Dr. Soong. Is it not?
They are.
Yes, no, because they established that in Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brent
Mhm.
Spiner was in Enterprise as Dr. Soong, and he was doing the augments. They
Yes.
called them, which were what Khan
Yes, which is
became.
why.
And then at the end,
Yes.
when they finally put him back in jail, he's like, "I'm going to start working on cybernetics."
Yes, and we
So
went through.
it is the same
we
guy.
saw a bunch of this in Enterprise. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done with it.
Yeah, Bill Soong was there to
And
get
for
Spiner
men
apart.
who
And
are always single,
you're
this
right, Bill.
this family keeps going. These men are always single, and yet there's always another one.
Your family tree does not branch.
The family tree doesn't branch. It's just one
Like
They
him.
clone.
root.
It is. It's clones all the way through.
Chris LaRoche says they need 86 Section 31. Well, that's
No, they've
discussion
announced
for
the movie.
another. Section 31 first came out in what? DS9, right?
Yes.
I want to say
Sixth
maybe
season.
Enterprise.
6th season, Deep
No, it
Space
was
Nine.
DS9. Yeah.
DS9.
Yeah, it was DS9. They picked it up in Enterprise, and
And
then
then
obviously
Discovery.
in Discovery, of
And
course.
then it exploded.
Discovery. All right, we're talking about Discovery. It's a secret organization within Starfleet, but they have their own badge and uniform
That they wear publicly.
that they wear publicly.
So I walked up to a guy at a con. He's dressed in a dark uniform and he's got the Section 31 badge on. And I said that to him. I said, "You're part of a secret organization buried within Starfleet, bent on universal domination, and you have an easily recognizable public badge." And he crosses his arms and he stares at me and he goes, "What badge?"
It's the same thing I always said about
Yes,
UFO with Shadow.
it's Shadow.
Secret organization, but they have their logo on everything.
The logo, yeah, the logo.
On the cars, on the women.
On the ships. Anyway, it's for the fans.
Anyway, the Noonien family tree needs to get chopped down.
Exactly. They need
Yeah.
to stop. They need to stop with Borg time things. They need to stop with Dr. Soong things.
Yes.
And
And come up with stuff, and don't freaking retcon stuff that's already been established, aka the Gorn, because just come up with new.
Just
Yeah.
strange new
There's a
world.
whole universe of stuff you can
Operative.
just invent.
New. Stop retconning. That's not
Stop
new.
retconning. I hate retcon.
You're
It's my
boldly
worst.
going where we've already been.
It's the
I'd
worst.
like to go back and find out that the flying cheese pizzas that hit Spock in the back and were taking over that whole planet, I want to see the intelligence behind that, because they were obviously intelligent.
Well, it was only like a hive mind kind of thing.
Right,
So
but
another Borg.
I'd like to see them on a different planet. They didn't die everywhere because they zapped them on that one planet.
I want to see. Do you remember?
Well,
in
they got the
Next
impression that they
Gen?
moved as one unit from planet to planet.
There's so many
you
like
might have wiped them
untapped
out.
stuff. Like if you guys want to go back and tap old shit, do you remember the episode Schisms and it was like alien abduction?
You know,
People were
I
being-
was thinking about that recently.
Or
Or
the,
the one-
the,
or
the
the
one
one
that
with
killed
the-
Tasha.
Oh, you mean
Armus,
Armus
yeah.
and Skin of
Yeah,
Evil?
they could have brought him back.
Yep.
So
Or
many
those things that crawl in your mouth and leave the little gill sticking
Yeah,
out
that
of
was
your
the whole
Conspiracy.
storyline that they just dumped.
Conspiracy. Yeah.
so many options.
That
But
would have
they
been a
like,
great
they
way
like
to come back and
Borg,
Yeah.
androids, and changelings. That's where we
Well,
that's
big
the one.
hitters. Big hitters.
Big hitters.
Well, I mean, clearly, like I said, when the Borg were first introduced in what, season 2, right?
Yep.
That was a turning point, I think, for that show, in that we had a very good baddie to battle.
Right.
They were scary, and even
Yes.
Picard was scared of they were like, okay, because Q was trying to prove a point that
You
you're
aren't
not
ready.
There's crap out there that's going to make you shit yourself, and you need
Yep.
my help.
DC,
And so here it is.
at an encounter at Farpoint, DC was mad because DC wrote all the space alien great joy and gratitude, that stuff. And then they tried to wedge in all the Q, and DC was mad. She was like, that's not what I wrote. But you know what? It worked. It totally worked. And it established Q and the Borg kind of right from the get-go.
Yep.
That worked.
And
perfectly.
they used Q as bookends on
and they used Q as
TNG
bookends.
and on this
this thing
Picard
too.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, Martin, remember they did use
But
the
we
Borg.
haven't
You're
even
right. You're right,
mentioned
Martin. There was an episode on Enterprise that they had Borg, but
Yeah.
you didn't know what they were.
The other thing I forgot to mention is and then we have brought Guinan back.
And you, for that matter.
Guinan's in the mix. It's a different Guinan, younger of a Guinan, but we never really find out why Guinan and Q hate each other so much.
You think they would have at least
really
they would have had more?
fully-
That would have been more interesting to find out because
You remember on Next Gen
always had that.
he hissed at him like a cat.
Yeah,
That was in
Stabbed
the
him in the
Borg
hand with a
episode.
fork.
Yeah, and this is not explained. I'm like, oh, we're finally gonna find out about that. Nope.
Seems human to me.
And why does she have a bar named 10 Forward
On Earth.
on
10
Earth? Why
forward.
isn't it on the Enterprise? It was 10 Forward on the Enterprise because it's deck 10 and it's the forward part
yeah,
of it.
that's true. There was why was
Section
it
one.
there? Why
Yeah.
was it still there in the 20th century, 21st century?
She too is a time traveler. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
But she didn't know she was a younger version of herself. She hadn't met Picard yet.
But she did back in San Francisco in 18...
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain.
Yeah.
1870.
Well,
Is
we don't.
Personality,
Again, yeah, that's true. We
Hard
don't know
saying
if she
name your
travels
bar
through
10
time or
forward.
she's
It'll be
just really
funny
old.
in 200 years. Like, I don't,
Time's Arrow was not one of my favorite episodes.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't
No.
very well done. But
We're not gonna.
That's
gonna
another set of
we
aliens.
won't dissect Time's
Oh,
Arrow.
yeah. No, it was on 10th Street, wasn't it? But what's the forward part?
Looking forward.
The forward building in the back was the
Because it wasn't forward.
gambling
It was like
and whorehouse.
down
I
the alley
guess.
and then downstairs, I think, to get into this bar.
Yeah,
Cheers.
I don't know. Again, it had to fit. It was again, how do we wedge 10 forward or something from TNG into the show?
Yeah.
Right.
And
So Data
nobody-
dies.
Again.
What's her bucket
again.
bucket goes off with Will Wheaton. Okay, that's fine. Guinan, I don't remember what becomes of her. Raffi and Seven are established. Legolas, we don't know what happens. Him and Rios goes back in time. Is that everybody for
So he
season?
stays,
Yeah.
he stays there. He doesn't come back with them. Yeah.
Yeah, he stays in the past.
Yes. That's a good succinct.
Legolas, I guess, goes to Starfleet Academy. That's
Well,
what.
Right. And then Raph. Yeah. So then not Raffi.
Raffi gets reinstated.
Raffi gets reinstated, but
Number
and
one
then
disappears.
Girardi becomes one with the Borg Queen and becomes
Raffi's
Girardi
husband-
Borg.
Not Raffi, sorry.
She's a good Borg.
Oh, she's a good.
Right, well,
She's a good Borg. She's like the
Good
good
Borg.
Borg of the West.
What song was it? She was singing on stage in that red dress.
It was a Pat Benatar song.
It was a Pat Benatar song.
I can't think.
somebody in our audience will
I'll
know.
think of it.
Yeah, I don't remember this. I can hear it. I don't know what it's called, but it's in my head. So anyway, which again was kind of an interesting scene. But their whole character annoyed me, so I didn't like any of it. So sorry.
Weird.
Girardi or the Borg Queen?
In the meantime,
Yeah,
and Laura,
Because Girardi acted stupidly.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
well, she was done.
She was
And-
always doing the dumbest things.
Maybe that's why in season 3 Picard didn't call her for help because he knew she'd be.
She was an idiot and screw it up.
Kent, the answer to your question is yes.
Yes.
No, it's always no. No.
No.
No.
No.
What kind of-
Anyway,
what
so
kind of
yeah,
movie is
season two was pretty. I thought it was pretty anemic overall.
It-
Yeah, it had some
Well,
intriguing
now
concepts.
that
but
like at first I like season 2 is better, but now that we've actually laid it out, what a weird season.
It wasn't
weird.
good.
and
it
you know what? They
wasn't good.
recycled. I
It
just
was
realized
better.
this.
It was better than one because one was such a horrible mess. Because, but then it's like the old thing where they say, well, this food is good. Well, what are you comparing it to? The roadkill in the middle of the road? Yeah, it's good for there. What's your
Yeah,
metric?
what's your Which
I
is-
just came to this
better.
realization.
It's better. It doesn't make it good or something that I want to watch.
They all of season 2 recycled a storyline from TOS. Captain
one?
Pike, or not Captain Pike, Captain Christopher gets his plane destroyed when the Enterprise is jumped back in time by mistake.
Tomorrow's yesterday.
And tomorrow is yesterday, and his offspring are critical to the space program.
Oh yeah, forgot about that whole thing with his niece, his great granddaughter.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. How could I forget?
I forgot all about that. That went nowhere.
In a red dress, I forgot
That
all
was
about
like, yeah, that was the whole thing. That whole storyline kind of just went.
They had to get her on
Get out
that
of my head.
rocket. She had to be on that rocket. Or
Yeah,
else.
but they just like, and then that, but that wasn't it. That didn't do anything. Like they did it.
Yeah.
That was
and then it
Laris.
wasn't-
Laris went and did that, right?
Fake Laris, who was one of the supervisors from like Simon
Simon
Earth.
Earth. Yeah, that was a good tie-in. I like that, and the fact that Wheaton is with them now.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, that was
I
kind of a
appreciate
cute
that.
little tie-in, a little fan.
They should have had the black
there
cat.
to have her.
Yeah,
I forgot
I'll
that she.
keep-
That's
that was
right. She
okay.
was
All right.
she was from that mysterious group that we still don't know anything about.
Gary Seven. and
The
his-
Gary
his-
Seven.
Gary Seven crowd. Yeah.
and ISIS.
I have a servo.
Yeah.
You mean a sonic screwdriver?
No, well,
I mean-
essentially, but remember, Doctor Who did it.
If
Doctor
they
Who
want
did
to
it
tell
first.
stories, they need to tell Will Wheaton the time. Basically, he's Doctor Who now. Like Wesley is now Doctor Who, as far as I'm concerned.
That's timey-wimey stuff. He'll get
Yeah,
it.
he's a traveler.
Timey wimey.
Wesley Crusher.
Well, you know, the other thing is,
Traveler.
why didn't they bring Wesley into season 3?
because
They wanted to give
He's
him
my
a
travelers, the Gary Sevens of
Because
the
he had to host
universe
the Ready Room.
can't interact.
Yeah,
when
yeah, that's right.
Bullshit.
He explained it. He said
Bullshit.
why.
Go rewatch the last TNG movie. He is at the wedding.
Yeah, but he didn't interact.
He didn't interact. No, he's only at the
What
wedding.
was his explanation that you can't interact with people from your original
Except
timeline?
unless they're getting
Right.
married, because then they can go
Unless
to the
they're
wedding.
getting married, in that case.
Then
Then
you
you
go to
can
the
show up
wedding.
and watch, but you can't father a kid or something.
I mean, in the
Yeah,
deleted
but they
scenes,
could
he
have
does
brought him
interact.
in at some point. I mean, if they're bringing everybody else in,
Nah,
but that was the weak excuse, Kent.
that was the
But they
conceit
blew
that I
their own
read.
excuse.
You know, honestly,
Go watch.
Alice said that.
we
Go
need to
watch.
kind of move. We can slide into season 3 now because honestly, if I were Will Wheaton, I'd be like, God damn it, I'm the Crusher kid.
I should be
not
sitting at
Warner
that
Brother.
damn console.
Step, half, or otherwise. I'd be annoyed. I'd be ticked off.
That's probably
Well,
why they
Wilson,
didn't bring
season
him in.
1 or Discovery, which is worse?
Oh.
Oh,
You
that's
mean
a
all of
Let's
Discovery or
start
just season 1?
Like,
Like,
'cause,
what do
like,
we have to compare? What are we
the
comparing?
episode with Rainn Wilson, that was fun.
Yeah, that was still season 1.
Yeah. All the
Season 1 and 2 of
episodes-
Discovery were not horrible, not great. They had a lot of problems. Don't get me
I
wrong.
largely really enjoyed Lorca. I largely
Discovery
enjoyed
spiraled into the ground
Remember,
hard at
it was-
season 3.
It was Anson's performance on Discovery that made us all start screaming, "Bye, bye!"
You guys want us to do Discovery? We can do this with Discovery if you want.
We'll
I'm more
do
than
it.
happy to
Yeah,
rip
we can
apart.
do it.
And we got it.
I'm
Now
I'm more
we're
than happy.
like,
Well, I'm asking our viewers.
Yeah.
We need a way to
Um,
put our silhouettes in front of the screen though while it's playing.
Yeah,
We
I
have
still
to do
wanted
Mystery
to
Science
see it
Theater
with- I
3000.
still want to see if we could do that with some old movies and stuff. Do a Mystery Science
psychedelic 3D glasses to watch.
We should do
Discovery.
it. We should do it at Trek Ticonderoga. We'll just like a bunch of us will sit on stage.
So,
while we
Bill,
play
I'm
a
going to
movie.
say season 1 was worse than Disco. Disco actually had
Disco season 1 and 2 were better than season 1 of Picard. Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Mhm.
I agree.
So,
There were some bright points like Deanna and Riker. But
yes, and again, that was season 2 didn't really have those cameos.
no.
No, just Q and Guinan.
No,
But I mean,
Q and Guinan. Yeah.
it just was the whole time
And
travel
Will.
thing. I just think it's
And
again
Will,
it's an old,
yeah.
it's a tired trope.
Chris.
I think it's always a cop out for writing to do the time travel thing. It's just-
And they half-assed the mirror universe. Why didn't they just go to the mirror universe?
well, no, it was never a mirror universe. It was just an alternate timeline. It was he says that specifically. Picard goes,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
he goes, no, this is not an alternate. This is our timeline. It's just changed.
Right.
So it's not mirror
It was a
universe at
mirror.
all.
Okay, but the mirror universe is just an alternate timeline.
No, mirror universe is a different dimension.
Okay, but at first contact with the Vulcans, he shoots them instead of shakes their hand.
But that's just what's happening in that dimension. It doesn't mean that it was a timeline.
Well, I
split.
thought it was an alternate timeline because it went differently.
If you want,
Again, that was established on Star Trek
Disco
Enterprise
Mirror.
in the Mirror Darkly, which I actually just watched today.
I like that one.
Oh, it's a great episode.
Yeah.
Two parts.
Empress
Hoshi. Sato. Yes.
Empress Hoshi Sato.
which becomes
Maybe.
Empress.
No, there was a blow up about that. Don't
There
say
was
that.
a blow up.
There was some
Hoshi
poor
is
people
not
that made that
necessarily
comment.
George Jones's ancestor.
Yeah, they were like, people were like jumping on everybody who said that as racist, which I don't think it's racist because they're both Asian. I mean, we can't. I'm
I'm not saying
going-
specifically. I'm saying
because they're both Asian, that means they're related. That's
no.
racist.
Okay, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying that her dynasty began.
But I mean, it stands to reason that you would go there thinking that because they are both Asian, that it was her ancestor that became.
No. I'm not. I'm saying it's not
Racist.
that. I'm saying
You're
she
not.
established a dynasty, and the next person to take over happened to be Georgiou.
Okay, but I would think that it would be her offspring.
Unless Georgiou killed them all to get to where she was.
Yeah, JoJo would not.
No, I'm
be
talking about
related.
they were Hoshi's offspring.
Yeah, it would be
eventually-
Hoshi.
Maybe until
Continue
Georgiou got a
the
hold
line.
of them and killed
Just
them
like
all.
like the whole British monarchy, they kind of
That's
put it in
not.
the
I'm
family.
not saying that.
You killed to climb, so it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be related. It doesn't have to be your
No,
kid.
it doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't necessarily, but it's not an unreasonable leap to think that. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what happened.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
that's not.
not
I
an
never
unreasonable
assumed that at all. I wasn't
Season
making the racist
Season
comment.
3.
Well, listen,
Season
I don't
3.
think it's racist to make
Season
that-
3.
I personally-
Season
it's
3.
off topic, but I don't think it's racist to make that assumption or potentially think that that's what happened. I don't know why that's racist. I don't understand, but
If you're assuming they're related, they're racist. If you're assuming when somebody killed someone, then that's not racist.
That's
That's-
I assume.
that's
it's-
just-
how is it? How is I don't understand how that's racist.
Exactly, you white privileged
I
bastard.
guess not. I guess I'm missing something because I'm like,
You old white
just
guy.
because it's like I don't know.
All right.
You're an
Season
old
3.
white guy.
Season 3.
Let's do this episode by episode because here we go.
All right, we're not talking
Here
about
go.
Discovery anyway. We're going to
This is
go
what
back. We're
we've
going
been
to
waiting
season
for
3. All right, we're done.
42
We're done.
minutes.
We're going to
I
move
loved
on. We're
it.
moving
Loved
on
it,
because
loved
we are
it.
way off
I
base
should
here.
have
I
this.
don't wanna-
I should have this.
Season 3. Season 3.
It should be a banner.
Season 3.
It's not a banner. We're going to get rid of that, and we're going to get rid of.
Okay, season 3, episode 1, The Next Generation. Dr. Crusher's in trouble, kids.
Badass Crusher.
Badass Crusher.
So we
make
start
these
out
little
with
joke things. They make a little chirp sound in the background, and you hide this thing in somebody's room, and they go bananas looking for where the little chirp.
it was called an Annoyatron. I actually
the
have one kicking
Annoyatron.
around.
Yeah. So somebody put one of those in Picard's quarters, and he
Oh,
can't
yeah,
find
that's
out where it's coming from.
That's right. So this is the last we see of Laris, who I was one of the few bright spots of season 1 and season 2. I loved Laris. She was the Irish Romulan I didn't know I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's like, hey, my boyfriend, I'm going to go over to this planet and do some shit. You want to come with? And he's like, hey, I'll be there in a minute. And then she's never heard of.
Never-
And they never saw
Why
her
did they stick her in
again.
there? It was like almost like pointless to have her there at all.
Just a teensy bit of continuity from seasons 1 and 2.
I guess. So the basic. So here's what started out. We watched season 1. Now we've heard so much hype about season 3 about how much it's being fixed and it's going to be so much better and you're all going to love
Doug
it. And
Wexler is typing
know-
things on Facebook like you can go home again. And
yeah, there's been a lot of people just saying. And let's be honest, season 3 was one giant fan service. Period.
don't
There
we
wasn't
deserve
a
that?
huge amount of substance to it.
Yeah,
But I'm not
honest
saying it was bad.
focus.
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying, but there were still some problems. When I watched the first episode, all I saw again was here we go again. Now we got Riker and Picard being crapped on. Why they had to come up with this ridiculous false thing
Yeah.
to get aboard the Titan and basically essentially steal the Titan. That's essentially what they were going to do. It was a form of trick them into
They were
going
going to
someplace.
commandeer it. They were going to
Commandeer it.
commandeer the Titan.
Which is
and-
admirals, they can.
Well, no. Well, he's
No.
retired and he's only still captain. I don't think
No.
Riker's not. But here's the thing: I never understood. There's no other ships available. They weren't
Ships.
going anywhere restricted.
They couldn't call Raffi and say, "Can we
They
borrow
could
this
call
Titan?"
somebody. rent a ship. There's got to
7
be
and 9, maybe
something.
let some
Because
Fenris.
remember, they only needed to get to that place. They didn't need to have any special. They didn't know where they were. They were just going to follow
Hermit's
the signal.
money more.
So here is what I'm gonna say. It has Stealing the Enterprise vibes because Terry Matalas's favorite Star Trek movie is Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock.
Right, and I got in kind of an online argument with somebody we know about that, and basically saying, "Oh, that's what they did in Star Trek 3," and I'm like, "Well, Star Trek 3, they were going to a restricted area, and you remember McCoy tried to charter a private ship,
yeah.
and then the guy's like, "No way, I'm not going there." But again, we're not going to a restricted area; it's just a piece of space that nobody goes to. I would have liked to have seen. I know eventually they had to bring the Titan into it for other reasons, but at this point, we didn't know that. I would have liked to have just seen Picard go, "Hey, I got just the thing," and they go out to his barn and they pull the tarp off of DS9 Runabout.
And he's got a runabout.
He's been exploring with Geordi or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and they take that out there. That would have been a great fan service.
Or even contact Geordi and borrow Runabout from the museum, like
or something, anything. I just think it was ridiculous. And so of course then we meet Captain Shaw, who again
the answer is still no.
He was crapping on two of our favorite characters.
You think
again, not giving him any respect, and the whole bunk bed scene, which was, I know people thought was great, but I was like, that's just sad. They thought I didn't find it that funny.
It was Shaw making a point to those guys.
I think he purposely was, but again, I think people are like, "Oh, isn't that funny? They're in the bunk beds," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's again, there's an admiral and a captain that are well decorated that are being crapped on again." That's what I saw.
Yeah.
It quickly turned around. And
why do they even have rooms with bunk beds in them anymore?
Yeah, right.
Because we have
they wrote it that way.
Yeah.
Because they wrote it that way.
It's in the script.
Well, then we learned that Beverly who apparently has been estranged from everybody for like 20 years or more, and Beverly has a son, and we know where it's going. It's
absolutely.
It's Dr. Marcus, Carol Marcus's son.
Because he is my son.
Yes, and again I groan because again we're kind of copying. I guess that was the point. They were purposely trying to copy
every single plot point that had ever happened before.
But I don't know why. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Well, because the major criticisms of season 1 and 2 was that there wasn't enough Star Trek in the Star Trek. So
now they had a really
swung back the other way and put all the Star Trek in the Star Trek.
But it wasn't even. I don't know. It just So things and here's the one I had this. I think it was in the second episode where they're on the Titan. They put Jack Crusher, Picard's son, in the brig. Okay, because he's a wanted criminal.
Right.
And lo and behold, he pulls this little doohickey out of his pocket that disables the force field on the thing, and he escapes. Come on, guys.
Somebody in TNG did it with a communicator.
Okay, but why does the A have this thing? They don't search you either electronically or before you go into for your own safety, if not for everybody else. And B, again, none of this device was kind of established.
No check.
My thing is, if you're going to use a mechanism like that to get him to escape, you have to somehow establish the fact of why he would have this thing and that it exists.
Right.
Before you get to that point. You can't
on the cutting room floor, we don't know.
But you can't just pull stuff out of your pocket and make it. It was like even in the season 1 where the what's his name? Rio's ship crashed, remember, on the planet of the androids. And he's fixing it with what essentially was a sonic screwdriver. Remember? It's just like it was like Guardians of the Galaxy where he's just holding something up. Hello. And it's just fixing the ship by itself. Like it's not. Yeah. It's like, remember the Guardians of the Galaxy and Rocket was spraying the sides of the ship and it was just fixing everything. It was just like that. Of course, Guardians, we don't care. It was just like little stupid things like that. Like we just need something to get from here A to B. So let's throw a device in there so he can break out.
Right.
Without having to come up with something more clever than that. So that annoyed me in this episode, in that particular episode.
Yeah, I mean, he could have done Get Help.
He could have done anything different. I don't know.
It
could have been a power surge and it caused the thing to blow out. Who knows?
So moving the story forward, 7 is revealed to be Shaw.
Now, she got promoted very quickly. We're talking about
very quickly.
She goes from nothing
Because
to
Star Trek
first
loves
officer.
to gloss over and fast track people with
Fast track the
problem
first
past.
officer.
Well, but she was on Voyager for all that time. Then she was a Fenris Ranger for all that time. They're quasi recognized by
She was
Starfleet.
more quasi Starfleet on Voyager than she was on.
Yeah, more on board. The Voyager one makes more sense, and I guess they could have said gave her time served, so to speak.
Right.
And Admiral Janeway could have probably had a lot to do with that. So that at least is a little plausible.
Mm-hmm.
But not as XO. I mean, she shouldn't have been an XO.
Probably not as XO, but whatever. And he didn't even want her as his XO.
Right.
He did not like. Well, he
The
had
Borg.
He had his issues. We'll reveal those later.
He had his issues with the
But-
Borg. He was,
well,
and with
That was a
Picard. He had
She's the
clearly
one
reached
who
into
helps
later.
Picard. She's the
Yeah.
one. He goes to bed basically, and she's like, "All right, kids, let's go." And off they go.
What the hell are
He
you
wakes
guys doing over
He wakes
here?
up and sees the nebula out his window, and he's like,
What kind of dipshit maneuver was that?
She should have been court martialed for that. Of course,
Yes.
he probably was going to.
He had
And then
already
there was a whole thing where he
recommended-
restricts her to her quarters, but then she comes out and starts doing stuff.
"Yeah."
He
She goes to him,
relieves her of duty, but then she just
Three
comes out and does
quarters.
stuff when they're
and she goes to him. "Can we talk?" He's like, "Officially, no." She's like, "Unofficially, still no."
it's still
And then she talks anyway, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right. Okay, let's go." That's what I actually love about Shaw, actually, because I was saying this to you guys before the show started. Is he was he knocked heads with people, but when the shit hit the fan, like when they had to do that nacelle bullshit, climb up in the nacelle and do whatever the fuck they were doing in the nacelle, he was right there on it. He did
Yep.
it. You know
He
what I
was
mean? That's what I like. He is the ultimate Star Trek because you still work to save people even if you don't like them. That's
Makes
Star
sense.
Trek, kids. That's
Even though he was a dipshit from Chicago.
he still saved. He still fixed the nacelle.
No, I mean, yeah,
Because
he came
he's
around.
engineering.
I think
Enough from
his
engineering.
and also in that nacelle scene is also where we see Sidney LaForge changeling. So I think that fits him a lot too.
yeah, he but I think when the other Federation ship attacked them, I think that was his turning point where he kind of realized that
Yeah.
there's more going on than
the fuck and Frakes
in other words, these guys are legit. They're not. Yeah, why are they? Why are they
Somewhere
fighting
in episode 1, 2, or 3, there was an F-bomb and I missed it. Like it just went pew,
Yep.
right over my head. I didn't even
Actually, the one in season 3 that Picard drops, he even admits that was
A little too much.
it was
Really?
ad-lib.
It didn't bother me. And the Admiral in season 1 who drops the F-bomb, I actually was okay with that. But this one,
Sheer fucking hubris.
Sheer fucking
was the
hubris.
line.
yeah, she wasn't.
I don't really had a problem with it, but a lot of people did have a problem with Star Trek and the profanity. I think you're on a streaming service. It's definitely a more modern
Time for
show.
adult Star Trek kids, just like
I didn't have a
Andor.
problem
Andor
with
is
it.
adult Star Wars.
Yeah, I didn't have a
It's
problem with it, but a
adult Star
lot of
Trek.
people did because a lot of people still try to watch this stuff with their kids. So I get that.
I suppose
That they might have a.
they had put all the warnings on it. Like you had been warned, so.
That's what
Yeah,
Prodigy
I
is
mean,
for.
Discovery
And Lower
where it started.
And
With, you know,
Lower
with-
Decks can be kind of adult.
Lower
too.
Decks is definitely not
Prodigy-
for children.
No,
Prodigy-
Prodigy.
There's the whole holodeck episode.
Lower Decks has some, there's
some
nudity
really racy
there.
stuff. In Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Lower Decks is definitely not for kids.
We might have to. We did a Lower Decks episode on season
Just
1.
because
We're gonna
something's
have to
animated, kids.
leave this.
doesn't
But then there's no
necessarily-
Yeah, look
question
at
that
Archer.
Lower Decks is not made for children in any form. Not a family show.
No.
Not
Anyway, moving on. Episode 3, 17 seconds. Okay, this is this is a lot of Picard coming to grips with the fact he has a son.
Yep.
A lot of Picard doing a lot of soul searching in this episode. I don't remember what plot wise how he moved the plot forward.
Okay, Bill Sotak says drinking, smoking, and swearing Star Trek standards have changed a bit. They've always drank, though.
True. They have always
Yes,
drank.
they
And
all-
they have sweared, but not to the
Oh,
extent.
God. Yeah, drink.
Yeah,
Bill,
Yeah.
dumbass on
and
you.
ale and all that is from back TOS.
I said, "Give me the brandy."
Saurian brandy, Romulan ale.
And a double
Klingon blood wine.
Yeah.
Them,
So
it's
drinking has
body-
always been a
it's
thing.
clean.
Drinking has
Is it?
always been a thing. No question
clean.
about it. So.
Yep.
The language was and
Yeah, the
there's
language.
always TOS had more probably sex than any of them.
Well, implied sex.
Kurt putting his boots on
Implied.
from
Dim the candles.
Dim the candles.
And then let's see, episode 3. Episode 3, we just see more of Vatic. Vatic is running around being
So Vatic, we have who was obviously you guys. I mean, probably know
Amanda
that
Plummer.
She was unrecognizable.
Amanda?
Really?
Yeah,
Amanda
I
Plummer
didn't think she looked like Amanda Plummer.
looked like
at
Honey
all.
Bunny to me, an older version of Honey Bunny.
That was Amanda.
Yeah, to me, it's like she was. Yeah, it was like her character from Pulp Fiction all over again.
Well,
I enjoyed her. A lot of people didn't like
Okay.
her. She was over the top. I enjoyed her.
Yeah, she was a little bit. She was kind of that quintessential cartoon villain.
She was very quirky.
She's very pretty. She
But
did
that's what she plays. I mean, that's her that's her acting style, sort of.
Yeah.
Do you remember
you know that she's Christopher Plummer's daughter, who played
Chang?
Chang on Undiscovered Country.
Do you remember Eric Bana in 2009? Yeah, 2009. Hi Chris, that real smooth hi Chris. She does that too. She's like, Liam Shaw's like, all right, let's deal with this woman, and she's like, hi there. Yeah, I can't remember what her line was, but I liked it. She did it
the
better.
best line she had was
switch gears well.
Yeah,
was when she gets frozen and she's like fucking solids.
Fucking solids. That's an okay F-bomb.
That was a good F-bomb, and that worked there, and I think that worked, and that was kind of like. But again, it was kind of a bit of a misdirection. We all thought that they were the baddies, and I was actually excited that they were going to take a DS9, villain and that whole thing.
If we
because
do
remember,
Legacy,
TNG was paralleling with DS9, so those things were happening at the same time.
Yep.
And it would have been neat to see that it was the changelings that were causing all this, but they were just the puppets of
I would have loved to see.
What about that portal weapon?
Yeah,
I mean, they
Portal
literally
weapon.
stole that from the
portal
game.
weapon was
Portal.
so Rick and Morty. That was so clever.
Whoa.
I thought that was brilliant.
Not even Rick and Morty. The game Portal.
There is a game called
Oh,
Portal,
game
yeah.
Portal. All right.
And
nice.
you open an orange one, and whatever you throw into the orange one comes out of the blue one. They even kept the colors the same.
Oh, did they really?
Yep.
It was probably there's a lot of Easter eggs. Let's face it, the whole season was Easter eggs. Because then we get to see eventually we see a lot of the Titan, which the Titan is a very Constitution class mimicked. Although I don't like that dorsal section thing. Looks funny, but whatever. It's a Constitution class, the new Constitution class.
Yeah.
Vessel.
Constitution 3.
Yeah, I guess it is.
It is supposed to be. It was totally supposed to look like the original Enterprise. It was modeled after that.
Yeah.
Not only in fandom, but in the show, they basically said it's the Constitution class.
Nice.
What they call it? They had a name for it, but it's like
Neo Constitution class 3.
Yeah.
So we're up to episode 4. They are drifting in this. We don't know what it is because I was in Nebula. I don't know. And then here's where a whole bunch of stuff. I think Beverly figures out that it's contractions. I think
space babies.
Shaw kind of comes around and now he's on board and we start liking him better and things kind of all start tying together. We still haven't introduced a lot more of the TNG cast, but that's okay. They're coming. They're still coming.
By this point, we have actually already seen Worf, and he has saved Raffi.
Worf and Raffi, yes,
yeah.
And he's been saving Raffi. Raffi has been
Fu Manchu looking thing going on too.
Yeah, he's got the Fu Manchu and beheadings are on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That was actually my personal favorite introduction of a character, not the Worf kicking ass part, butt part, but him. When she wakes up, I am Worf, son of Moog.
Yes. And the whole thing, House of Killer of Martok.
House of
Serchenki.
Slayer of Gowron.
Of Gowron.
Bane to the Duras family.
Yeah.
I have made you chamomile tea. Do you take sugar?
Yeah, I think Worf was probably definitely one of the shining moments.
Worf was amazing.
Warrior Monk.
It probably warrants his own show.
Beheadings are on
Looks
Wednesday.
like they're heading that way.
Oh, good. Thank goodness. I thought we were going to survive there for a minute. And then him just sleeping in the chair. I just say that in the fridge. Like that was come on.
There was in that episode too. That's the one where they're sinking down into this gravity well. And we kind of see this conflict between Riker and Picard, which I didn't really care for. I didn't know what was really going on there.
Everyone changeling? Like what the hell?
Yeah, there was kind of this indication that maybe one of them wasn't being
Who they thought
say
they were.
Yeah, and they
But
both
then it just kind of just evaporated. Like,
they
oh
both
well,
took turns doing things out of character. That was a huge point of like online. People really debated that. Like people were really like, "What the heck is happening here?" And that I think was a red herring. It completely threw us off of what we were supposed to be focused on, which was the changeling and Vatic and Jack. Yeah.
right. So they get out of that by blowing stuff up, and
Whatever they do.
anyway, they get out of that.
And we move on to
Ultimately, I
episode
mean, we find out eventually that it's not. I mean, I just want to move things along here rather than going.
Yeah, we're up on 5. We're caught by Starfleet, facing court-martial. So
Right, and but
Row.
they find out that ultimately it's not the changelings that are at the core of it. Of course, they're using this
How do they find out
Frontier Day, which don't Paramount every year now at Frontier Day. They're going to have Frontier Day.
Yeah, Frontier.
Don't think that was purposely done to sell something. They're going to reuse. They're going to bring Frontier Day as a regular Star Trek holiday.
It is.
But so basically, it turns out that the Borg have a biological program, and that's where Jack was involved. And again, you guys watched.
Everybody who's ever gone through a transporter has this.
So they take over every ship of the
Yeah,
fleet.
actually, you know what? The transporter thing is very, very clever.
Yeah, and that's
You
one
would
of
have
the-
thought
and
that they
that's
would have
what-
done
and
something
that's
like that.
plausible. You see, that's where they did something I thought that worked, because we know that could happen. I mean, at least we, within
Right,
that.
but let's assume for a second that was it worked. Obviously, I would think a vast majority of people on Earth have never been through a transporter unless you go routinely up and down to ships.
Seems like you would transport from one spot to another.
They were
Well,
using
I
it to transport around the planet too. Wasn't
would
it?
I mean-
Then why do they have all those the trains, the maglev trains, and all the
Local.
little shuttle
Well, that would be
transporters?
local transport.
Local transport.
I do remember Cisco actually saying in one of the 3rd or 4th season episodes that he used to take the transporter from Starfleet Academy back to New Orleans.
And I think even Wesley or one of the cadets had mentioned he used up all his transporter credits or something.
Like you're only allowed to transport
to
5
go
times a year.
somewhere. Yeah, you can only use it so many times. But
Yeah.
So, but I don't think the point is though, Ken. Even if what you're saying is true, it was Starfleet that they were looking to get.
Yeah,
Remember,
they
were gonna
infiltrated
blow the
Starfleet,
crap out
not
of the planet.
everyone.
We don't know what was happening on Earth.
Right.
They never really explained if anything was happening on Earth, whether there was Borg. It was pretty much they wanted to take over the Starfleet, which they did essentially.
Yeah.
And then of course the reason is they had to go to which was the coolest parts of the show is when they went to the Fleet Museum, and we saw glimpses of some of our favorite ships.
Yes.
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 Again,
Client,
huge fan service.
Voyager,
Yeah,
And
the one was in
NX-01
there,
refit.
the
the NX-01 refit.
the
So
A.
somewhere in here, episode 6, 7, we figured out it's changelings, and we were on a skeleton crew. We had gotten a bunch of the crew off the Titan, so now we're on a skeleton crew in the Titan. And then here comes another old character from the past,
Ro Laren.
Ro Laren,
Yeah.
Which they kill off and pretty much
who they immediately killed.
Yeah,
And
they did.
part of me, I didn't know where to think about that. Like, I liked that they tied up. She was an interesting character. I didn't like her back in the day, and I
I
love
didn't like her
She was
back
a-
in the day. I didn't care
I
for
love
her in this.
Michelle
She
Forbes.
was-
I loved her on
she-
DS9 on Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
She's
no, I
the
mean,
proto Kira Nerys.
Ro for some reason
well,
bugged me.
Ro screwed over Picard, which he brings up, and so she never was trustworthy.
But they're both like, well, you broke my heart. Well, you broke my heart.
Yeah, that was kind of lame. No, she screwed him over.
But that character was the proto Kira Nerys. It was kind of,
Yeah,
She
Sure,
was supposed to be the
certainly.
one that was supposed to be on DS9.
Yeah.
So.
So,
that would have been a whole different show, I think, with Ro Laren in that character.
potentially, yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
but
her and Cisco clashing.
And in the
Come on.
meantime, while we're running around with Ro, Riker, who goes down? Riker, Worf, and Raffi go
Yep.
down to Daystrom Institute, where we see another character played by an actor I
and
absolutely
they kind of played up that was going to be a
sure.
bigger part of the show, but it really wasn't.
don't think did. or not.
Moriarty.
We saw Moriarty,
Moriarty.
of course, and it was just
Daniel
really stuck in
Davis.
there as a fan service. He was just a
Guys,
gatekeeper.
If it's late, you have insomnia, go on YouTube and look up and just type in the search bar Niles Zings Cece and watch Daniel Davis as Niles the butler on The Nanny just deliver these brutal takedowns to this character named Cece. Oh my god, they've compiled them into like 15 minutes. Like, oh my god, genius! He's a genius. He's a brilliant comedic actor. We saw him on Hunt for Red October. He played I don't know what he played.
Yeah, he played
around.
the captain.
And then he plays Moriarty. He's been playing Moriarty on Star Trek. Oh my god, I was so happy to see him.
Yeah, it was just thrown in there though. It really didn't add anything to the story. It was just there for fan service, and it was just nice to see him. But whatever.
Daystrom Institute was Easter egg after Easter egg after
right,
Easter egg
and then of course that's where we had to run into Data
and we got Data back again.
And it's Lore and Data
and
before and one of the
all the Dr.
all versions of Data.
There were 4 personalities. So he's doing the Gollum Smeagol thing, but he's doing it with 4 personalities.
I think it actually might be more.
Please.
Yeah. So anyway, ultimately he wins out, and it's just Data for the most part, or Data has all the. So he basically wins out over Lore. We thought it looks like Lore is going to take over, but in the end, Data basically tricks him, and he ends up taking over. So yeah. So now we got Data in there.
Riker gets captured.
Daughters, of course, who are Starfleet. One of them's a helmsman. One of them is an engineer, like Geordi. And then so ultimately they got to use the interview. We get them introduced back to the Enterprise D, because that's where this was all heading all along, is get them back on the D bridge. And of course, it's the only ship that's not programmed with this stupid.
The only ship that's not linked to all the other ships. Okay. Oh my God. Has Starfleet? Okay, this was a bad plot point. The Starfleet learned nothing.
What's her name? Admiral, the one that got
Shelby.
Shelby.
Best of both worlds.
Was she against that way back in the beginning?
Yes.
Like that
So
kind of
it's ironic. It's so ironic.
Didn't she watch ID4? I thought everybody watched ID4.
Did she not watch her own shows?
Did he watch her own episodes? Did she
not watch all good? No, not all good things.
Best
yeah,
of both worlds.
No, you best of both
worlds. Did she not watch Best of Both Worlds?
Did she not live through it?
Yeah. So she got blowed up right at the beginning of that battle.
Yeah, poor thing.
A lot of them they killed off pretty quick. So of course the Enterprise D swings in. It's cool. It was cool to see it again. Of course.
Oh, in the meantime, Riker is captured with
Troy.
Right.
They went and got Troy. Kestra, we don't know what happened to Kestra.
Well, we can assume that
we
she's
don't need to go over every plot point. It's just
so we need to know where the characters.
Overall, by this point in the series, things have improved, and we're all liking it, and we're getting back
we're all
to
liking it.
stuff, and stuff. But there's some holes in it. It wasn't perfect by any means, and it was. But let's be honest, the storyline was okay, but it was just a vehicle for the fans. To show us the D again. To show us some of these other ships that we got to see the old crew back together.
All right, so let's yada yada. Worf saves the Rikers. Everyone's back together. Deanna goes to talk to Jack, and oh my gosh, she literally gets up and runs out. And here's our big ending. Here's how this thing ends.
Right. Well, we find out that Jack was the catalyst for the whole thing, and that
he's beyond the green door. Oh no! Wait, that's a different movie.
Red Door.
No,
the movie.
Never mind, Fez. You're too young. You're too young to remember Behind the Green Door.
Are you?
What? I saw that, dude.
You saw it, but it was already made when you were like a kid.
Oh, fine.
Oh my God! Wait, we gotta hit on something. Martin's right. We missed the Quint speech.
Oh yeah, we gotta
Quint speech.
Oh, the Wolf 359 thing.
How 1,000 went into the water?
Yeah.
300 came out. Sharks got the rest.
And they've been down. They went down this road. You got to remember, this was a Cisco DS9. Remember, Cisco didn't like Picard either.
For that same reason.
He lost his wife at that battle.
Saratoga.
So there's going to be a lot of bitterness towards Picard for that now,
which may explain why Starfleet dumped on him in season 1. He's a pariah.
Well, yeah, but that was so long ago, and he had such a career past that. You think, okay, if he was pariah, why isn't he pariah right at season?
And they missed it bad. They really should have done that.
Pariah right away.
They really should have done that.
Why did they wait 40 years or 30 years for him to become a pariah?
Well, but they mentioned it in First Contact.
Mm-hmm. And that's why
that's why they didn't call the Enterprise.
Right, because they were afraid they didn't know how he was going to react.
Right.
But I think even once that had passed, he must have established himself that, I don't know. I know what you're doing, but it's shaky, in my opinion.
Anyway, Shaw gives his Quint speech, beautifully done by Stashwick. Emmy, please. And we we figure out the transporter thing, and everyone's turned into a Borg except for the old people. And
Anybody who was older than 25.
older
Yeah,
than-
that was kind of again. That was a plot device.
That was a little
you
yada
so that there our old aging heroes were the only ones that.
that was a
But,
little yada yada. And the cook, the one cook with Rafi when they were on.
Right.
I'm a cook. I don't know. I'm not a helmsman.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. There was some
And the
humor.
guy
Yeah.
who took over for Boothby at the Academy, he's
So anyway, ultimately the D comes in, does its thing. They win
And
the day.
they let Deanna drive it.
They let
They
Deanna.
let Deanna drive. She did
She
great job.
crashed it, though.
Sneaking in.
Remember, yeah, she did crash it on Viridian 3. So and so of course at the end now we see that of course unfortunately Shaw is killed. We maybe hope not, but maybe he's pretty much was killed.
He needs to come back as an
He needs to
emergency
come back.
command hologram.
So
Because
Seven takes over as captain of the Titan.
Seven gets into trouble, hits a button on her chair, and then the emergency command hologram appears and goes, "State the nature of the dipshit emergency."
Yeah. That would be lame, but okay. They did try that the
The
emergency
Rios homework.
command
Oh, yeah.
whatever the hell they did on DS9. Well, not DS9, Voyager.
Voyager.
Anyway, so the thing that irritated me, actually, I know a lot of people thought this was great, but I did not like it, was them renaming the Titan to Enterprise.
Yeah, you don't do that to a ship.
You don't.
You don't, it's bad luck. Anybody that knows maritime history,
Retire.
Okay.
bad luck.
So, being a Star Trek fan, as we all are, I completely agree with you. Now, as you guys saw, my fiance came in and watched this with me, and she said, "Babe, I don't understand why they're renaming it. That's not a hero ship."
It was a fan service
And
thing.
and I said, I understand it. I don't agree with it, but
It is
No,
I understand it.
because you don't rename if you're gonna like. At least if it had been like almost totally completely destroyed and they rebuilt what was left of it and then decided that it should be named for whatever reason, maybe, but it was perfectly in good shape, so there was no reason for the most part to
I mean,
you know what I'm saying. It was
I
just
agree with
strictly
you.
fan service, and it doesn't. Yeah, it's
the-
I agree, Chris. That would have been in Yorktown. Would have made more sense. Would have been nicer if they had a rename or just called the Yorktown, not even Titan.
Yeah.
What happened to Riker's Titan? Did they ever?
They
Titan
said
Titan first, and Shaw had Titan A.
Yeah. So
well,
what happened to Riker's Titan?
what they said, from what I remember from the beginning of the season, was that parts of the original Titan are actually part of the Titan A. So it might be the saucer section, or parts of the saucer section,
We don't know what happened
or whatever.
Why it got blowed up?
And I want to know what happened to the E.
Yeah, that's the
that's the other
running
thing,
joke
Worf.
is that apparently Worf destroyed the E,
Worf
but we
missing.
don't know what
We're
happened
up to
with the
G
E.
already? Like, wow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be on. Do you remember Doug Drexler saying, "Yeah, I made the J and I made it really futuristic, and I did." We're
Yeah,
on
the
G
J
already.
is really,
It's
it's
gonna
like
be a
popular.
J before you know it.
You get to J. No, they're going through ships. Really, the original Enterprise lasted like 20, 30 years, and like these are like they're ripping through them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. We know when the C went down.
Which was
That was
about
in the battle with the Klingons.
Narendra 3,
Romulans,
yeah.
isn't
The
Yes,
B
there
was
was
around, but
Enterprise.
we
But
know
they
when
didn't
the
they
A-
didn't they
the A
didn't build
was
the
first.
D. They didn't build the D until well after that.
it was
Yeah.
like 10 years after
There's a
that.
gap, or maybe the C just kept doing.
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it
No,
doesn't necessarily
she went
mean
down.
that
She
once
got
one ship
destroyed.
gets destroyed, they instantly build another one and call it the same thing.
They had
Right.
been a
I mean,
gap.
there could be gaps. The point is that they from the original 1701, which was a character,
Yes.
they've
So was the
become
D.
disposable.
The D was too.
The D was a character in a lot of ways. Yeah.
It was
I
to
didn't-
some degree.
I
I was
like-
never a huge fan of the D's design.
I
never
like
really
the
liked
E.
it.
I
I
love
love the design of the E, but
The E
she
was-
did not feel like a character.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
She did
Once we
not
got
feel
to
like
that
home.
point, once we got to the films, the ship was just a ship.
Yeah.
It didn't have any care. And that's the thing, they're being so nonchalant with that. We're gonna call it this. We're gonna call this one the Enterprise. You know, maybe this one will be the Enterprise next. We'll just, and I didn't like it. It would have been better if they're gonna do a show, Star Trek Legacy, as apparently the people want to call it, with
9 and
Nine
Yeah.
and Spieler there or whatever.
Yeah.
You could have had it as a Titan. Why did it have to be the Enterprise?
Yeah, it absolutely could have been the Titan.
Could have left it as Titan. I would have been okay with that.
But I mean, I'm cool. I'm
Cause
cool with Seven
reasons.
being Captain of the Enterprise. That's cool. But yeah, it should have
Cerritos
been.
A, Cerritos A,
Or the
Cerritos.
Cerritos, yeah. Or the last Serenity. I don't know. Since we're talking about ships, 1 million Easter egg ships in with all the Federation. Frontier Day. All the Frontier Day ships lined up. 1 million Easter eggs in there. Not the least of which were the Akuta, the Drexler.
Right. There was a lot of, yep.
There's tons of them.
Tons of the
Excelsior.
names of the ships, right. There's a lot of Easter eggs. And we have to give a lot of, first of all, Terry Metalis for giving us this season and kind of basically saving this show overall, and not making it 3 seasons of disaster. And of course, Mike and Denise and Doug
And
doing a lot of the graphic work and rebuilding
that. Yep.
Certainly that's all credit. Now, I don't know where they're going to go from here with it, if they're going to do Legacy or not. If fans want it. It did work for Strange New Worlds.
Yep.
So you never know. So I'd say it's almost a given. I won't say it's guaranteed, but I'd say it's pretty good, pretty likely that it will be. Some kind of Star Trek with 7 of 9. And
for Legacy have already exceeded the petitions for Pike.
Yeah.
For Strange New World, and we got Pike in Strange New World, so
And it's still climbing.
and still climbing. Yes.
So my guess is I'd be really surprised, let's put it this point, if we didn't get that show. But we're going to have to struggle through one more season of Discovery.
Yeah, but they're wrapping it up.
Well, we'll see what they do. I didn't even watch
We're
that.
gonna,
I didn't watch the last season. So
Strange New World starts June
15th.
June 15th. So we'll see. We're going to have Carol Kane is the new engineer.
Carol Kane's our new engineer. Yep.
Love her as an actress. Don't really see her on Star Trek.
Enjoyed
but
her in
we shall
things
see.
like
I will try to keep
Pride.
an open mind.
Bye, boys. Have fun.
Yeah, I just keep seeing her as it's just Lodka's wife,
Girlfriend,
remember, from
yeah.
Jackson.
Can't wait for Lower Deck season 4.
Yeah, Lower Decks.
See,
Lower
now,
Decks, I feel, is the one that they
if
made
we
for
put
us.
Terry Metalis and Mike McMahon in a room together, I feel like we'd get some good Star Trek because they both seem to really know Star
They
Trek.
get it.
Well, they're actual Star Trek fans versus
Actual Star Trek.
most of the other people, for the most part, we've had.
J.J. Abrams.
Producers.
I wasn't even just talking about J.J. Abrams.
Well, JJ, we've already established that that's a different timeline. That's a different timeline.
I understand
Which
that.
is why the tie-in that you guys just mentioned, I was like, why? The Romulus being destroyed. So this is in that timeline.
Well,
We assume that the black hole or the star exploding
The
or
red
whatever it's
matter.
going to be.
it happened in the it happened
existed in both universes or both timelines.
in the canon, the comic book tie-in, which apparently is canon, in quotes. It happens in the Prime universe.
All right, whatever. So to wrap this season up, we got everybody we know and love. Raffi was tolerable. I enjoyed her. I really liked her at Worf. I'm looking forward to seeing more Raffi. 7 kicks ass always, and I love her.
Yep.
Shaw, you've gone too soon. Ed Spaliers, he made
He's just a pretty face.
lasting
He was
impression
pretty
on me.
face.
Neither he didn't try to mimic any of Patrick's mannerisms. He didn't really seem to mimic Beverly's mannerisms.
He was just
didn't.
dressing.
Yeah, he was a pretty face.
Yeah.
So
And then the post-credit scene to cap this whole thing off.
Cute.
yeah.
So,
I thought you were dead. Well, I'm Q. Okay,
I'm
that's
Q.
how we fixed it. Yeah.
oh,
so-
linear. You mortals think in such linear terms.
Yeah, I guess so. Whatever.
Wibbly
So,
wobbly,
that's fine.
timey wimey. See, that's why
Clearly, Star Trek. Just because that's why Shaw could come back any moment because
That's
you
why
know, you
Shaw
could
can
have
come
Q do this and he's back.
So
All right, we're way over, guys. We were
you
way
said
over.
you
20
were okay going over.
Yeah,
to
but I said 20 minutes, didn't I? It's now 20 minutes.
it's not our fault that we like season 3 of Picard.
Well, I figured that was going to happen. No, so
And it's not our fault that we didn't like seasons 1 and
yeah,
2.
I mean, season 1 and 2 are just horrid. Let's face it. So, and three was very good comparatively. It had its holes.
It still had
Okay,
its holes.
quickie poll.
It wasn't horrible.
A quick poll from each of you.
I think Terry really. So hopefully they'll make Terry the showrunner.
Writing was better. The characters had funny
Wait.
lines. Riker had funny lines.
Given all the hype about it being TOS season 8,
I-
we all heard it. TNG season 8. Sorry. Do you feel they hit that mark?
No.
Fell short, but it had.
But it's been
It
35
didn't,
years.
it didn't feel like TNG to me at all.
It's 30 years. They're old people.
It
I'm
didn't-
old people.
But it didn't feel like TNG.
I
at
didn't
all.
feel like TNG.
It felt like a reunion show.
It
Because we
felt
kept
like a
hearing that
reunion.
phrase. Everybody was saying that phrase. TNG.
I
season
know.
I-
but
I
I disagree with
grant
it.
It wasn't.
It felt to me like a reunion of the TNG movies, but not
Return to Gilligan's
TNG.
Island.
I am going to give these people mad props because I've been thinking about this and thinking about this, thinking about this. This is the only television show in history where the whole bloody cast has come back 30 years later. Yes, I know Tom Baker came back to Doctor Who. I don't know how many
Well,
years.
what about Red Dwarf?
How long have they been going for?
Well, not as long.
35
Well,
years?
pretty close.
35 years.
It's been pretty
Yeah,
close
they
when
might
they
be
came
close.
back and did their
Close.
last season.
They might be close.
Firefly can still pull it out.
Tom Baker did it in Doctor Who, maybe Red Dwarf, I'm not sure. But my God, look, you guys, this is monumental. They got the people who were not even Star Trek fan, like news anchors and stuff. Everyone was commenting on this on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like people who are not, it was just regular people in the not sci-fi world. Other TV shows were talking about this. What was I should have made note of all the tweets. People are just like, oh my God. This is like literally years. This is literally years in the making. This is 30 some odd years in the making. We've got to give them mad props for that. That's fucking incredible. They all came
Say so. I mean, okay.
It is. What other TV show has a?
I don't know why you find that so amazing that they were able
Well,
to pull the old cast and stay
Plus,
alive.
they've had 0 deaths among the major cast.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I was saying Patrick Stewart's clearly the oldest.
I can't think of another. Somebody think
really
another
old.
American television show that's still.
Well, no, I mean
30
that's
years
great.
later.
I mean, but it wouldn't have worked if they didn't have really everybody.
If they all came back and they all like, yeah,
They didn't have Wesley.
and not just suit up and perform, freaking act. Dorn's still doing stunts.
Yep.
You know,
They're old, but they're not like, except for Patrick. I mean, they're all like what, in their-
LeVar, I
Right,
think
they're 70.
the only
70s.
one, LeVar is 69. Everyone else is older, and
Yep.
of course Wheaton is younger. But LeVar
which
is
wasn't in it. So
Everyone else is older than 69. That's old. I'm 51 and I wouldn't be doing my own stunts.
well, he's in pretty good shape.
I'm
All right, so
35 and I wouldn't do my own stunts.
well, there you go. So anyway, yeah. So I think we've pretty much beaten this one to death.
Loved it.
What does anybody have? You got any updates for next week?
Roy, I don't know what Roy's doing because
Roy's
first,
in California, apparently.
yes, Roy first went off to Calgary. He's on some kind of world tour. He first went off to Calgary to Space 1999. Next thing I know, he was sending pictures from the Hollywood Hills. So I don't know what is happening.
He's doing kind of a tour, I guess.
He took the Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi on a world tour. And then Captain Phil is going to be doing composer Stanley Silverman in the 3:00 hour tomorrow. And then Joe Denizoni at 4:00 for new Stratospherics live CD. If you're going to tune into Captain Phil's Planet. Are you out of retirement now, young captain?
I might be out of retirement.
You going to do another episode of Fez Talks?
I am considering honoring a request to come to do Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh,
Oh,
you've been talking about that one for a long time.
Long time,
And Super Troopers too.
and Super Troopers too.
Yes, that too.
You'll log butter tart. All right, kids, that's it. For me.
All right. So, and then next week we're gonna do because tomorrow, remember, is May the 4th.
Yes.
May the 4th, you guys. There's no hand gesture for May the 4th.
No, Star. I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna do Mandalorian up to this point. I think we did season 1 a while back.
We
when it
did.
first aired. So we're gonna do what's up to current season and just talk about. And that's gonna be a love fest because there's not.
Because
a
we
lot
like
of-
Mandalorian.
We love Mandalorian.
We do love
Even though it's not
Mandalorian.
the Grogu show anymore, we still
Not
love
the Grogu show, but I'm okay with that. It's growing. It's changing. It's good. It's still good Star Wars.
Yeah, it's about to be the Bo-Katan show.
Yeah.
We the
Well,
big
we'll
fan.
see.
Mhm.
That's again all part of the evolution.
Yep.
All right, guys, it is way late, so I'm going to say good night. Thank you guys for coming on. It's been a good discussion.
Thank
could've
you,
probably-
everyone, for watching and staying late. They're still there.
So,
Good
yeah,
for you
thanks
guys.
everybody who stuck around.
Good night,
We don't
everyone.
normally like to do this, but we felt it was necessary. So I'll say good night, live long and prosper, and we'll see you next week.
Happy May the 4th.
Bye-bye.